Hello, my name's Ralph and welcome back to the channel. It's my time, let's go. Today we're going to be working along on the bottom end again and getting down to it. Now that we've had a chance to get our cases together and get my other Black Evo motor ran with the dyno ignition that I wanted to put in it and get it off the stand, now I'm able to have gussets up here on my stand where it's nice and solid and I can work away on it. So today we're going to try to button up the cam cover case. We've got a new cam cover that should have alleviated the problem that we had, I'm pretty sure. So we're going to set our end spacing for our breather gear, set our end spacing for the cam gear, and probably put the lifter blocks in. Might get those in today. I sort of like to put them on when I can still look inside here and see everything, and then put my cam cover on. It just makes it easier to install them and everything else, but we'll see when we get to that. All right, before we get at it, hey, Hippie's Chopper Corner. Be sure to check out Hippie's Chopper Corner, home of the sketchy choppers. We keep them sketchy all the time. Be sure to check him out. He's a great guy and he's got some great content down there. So we got a new cam cover here today. I think we'll use that one. New set of screws. That's really nice. Nice chrome set. She looks good. Got a cam seal already installed in it, so that's good. All right, let's take that over and stick it on, see what happens. So we're just going to stick the cam in there. Not really paying a whole lot of attention as to where it's at and such. There we go. Just going to stick the cover on, see how it's going to fit. Got problems. So I've been having trouble with cam covers. So what I'm going to do today is knock this bushing out of here in case it's been done way off to one side. And I do have a new bushing as such that I can put in and size out, and we'll see where we go from there. So let's give it a go. So we're just going to use a 7/8 socket is the right size in there to press that out. Looks like she's been pinned a few times. So evidently somebody's tried before, but we'll give it a go. I don't know how far out of line it is. We gotta get that in place there. So we've got to drill the little hole out there. There we go. It yet, and I really should, but before I go too far and go through all the work, I'm just going to clean this up a little bit and see if we're even close. So we'll go over to the hone and just get a little bit off it. Go. got our little pinhole in there for it. To put our little stake pin in there. So we're gonna put our little pin in there. Sure we're down below the surface. There we go. Now, need to peen that over ever so slightly. There we go. Now that we've got that in there, and it does swell it up a little bit. It just barely goes in there. So we're just gonna give it a light shot on the honing machine, and then we'll try it over on the motor and see where we're getting to. And there we've got it done. So it's cleaned up all the burrs and just got a nice fit on there. So we'll go try it. Take a little tiny bit of bluing. Just gonna rub it just right in that round area, because sometimes a cam will hit in there and you have to be aware of that, and this is a very close fit on that. So we're just gonna try it with the cam cover on it and see if we have any interference in here, if there's any bluing. We don't want it right in the corner there, but on that surface to see if the cam is hitting it. Cover back on. Too close there. There we go. And now we can see in there that nothing has touched it. And I don't have any blue on this inside cam lobe at all. So we're good. So today we're running into a bit of a problem with getting the cam cover to fit on our motor. Me being my anal self, tried to figure out if there was something wrong, and I can't really figure it out. I actually split the cases again, took them apart, rechecked the flywheels, got them to within a 5/10,000ths of an inch, got them back into the case, checked it with the pinion shaft on the end for run out, less than a half a thou run out. And when I put a cam cover on, it slides right on. So there's no interference with the pinion shaft. It's where it should be, right on the money. I have an Andrews cam for this, and what we're doing now is measuring across the top of the pins. So by taking a small set of pins and putting them at 180 degrees to each other, 0.105 pins, we can measure across the top here, and from pin to pin, to get our measurement to see what would be the suggested range for the pinion gear. 735.5 thou, which is what the Andrews gear should be according to the measurements. That tells me that I should have a red pinion gear in there as suggested, and I do have a bunch of other ones, but the motor had a green one in there, was a Jim's one. which is two or three sizes under what it's supposed to be for this camshaft. Yet when I put it in there, it appears that the cam and the pinion are spread too far apart, and when I put the cover on, it's trying to force them together. So my next step is to measure the black pinion gear. I'll have to get it off, or the green pinion gear off, and get a measurement on it and see where it's at. I have another one here just out of curiosity, and I'm not sure what it is, but I'm going to put my little pins in it. 750, 60, 71, 2, 73, 72 to 73. It says this is a red gear. It's supposed to match up to this, but trying to put the cover on there, it's not even close. But at least I know this is a red now. So I've got red, blue, whites, yellows. The motor had a green in it, and I'm gonna have to go take that green off and see what it measures out at. 50, 60, 71 and a half. 2.715, so that's a black. Definitely on the small side. And we're down two sizes on the pinion gear, and it's still binding up in there. And when I measure the old cam gears, and I get about 736, so it's the same as the Andrews one. But for some reason they've got the green gear in there, which is way sizes small. Now if I put the covers on one of my old covers that's still within specs, it's not walled out or anything, and I slide it on, I can actually use the red pinion gear in there. So I think that's what I'm going to use the old cover and send back that chrome piece of shit that don't fit nothing. I don't know, but I don't see where I really have any choice but to go that route. So after some digging around and got some other covers and stuff, I finally figured out what the problem is. The problem is that the distance between this hole and this hole here is 0.010 of an inch smaller on that crap aftermarket cover that I got, and it was crushing them together. Now somebody had problems with this original cover, the same thing, although this has a Harley part number on it, but they had a black gear on the green gear on the timing cover, trying to make it fit so that the thing would turn instead of having a red pinion gear for the red cover. They had stepped down over two sizes down on the pinion gear, just trying to make it so that it would turn. So I know there was a problem with this cover, and I have seen that problem in some other models, but I mic'd everything out, and my cam sizes, everything seems to be the same, but when you put that cover on, it jams up tighter than a nun's butt. I'll tell you, it's pretty frustrating. I've spent 2 days. I've taken the whole bottom end apart. I've put it on my lathe, re-trued it all up. I thought there was a problem. There wasn't. But being my anal self, I took it upon myself to think that there was a problem. So I'd split the cases again, done that, trued the flywheels, put the cases back in. In the end, I have an older cover, original cover, Harley cover, a 1986 cover that fits perfectly. I'm able to run the red pinion gear with the red cam shaft, which is the proper setup. So that's the way we're gonna go. And it's not chrome, but Gus can put a cover on it or whatever he likes to do, but this cover will work, and that's what I'm going to use for it. No more fooling around and figuring out that problem of the 0.010 of an inch closer here was causing it to jam. So live and learn. Unfortunately, the aftermarket stuff is getting worse and worse and worse when it comes to things that got to be a tolerance fit on it. It's pretty frustrating a lot of the times, and it's taken 2 days of my time for nothing. So, but anyway, live and learn. And if you have that problem trying to put a cam cover on, you order yourself a new cam cover, you try to slide it on there. Yes, things have to be line ring, but most things should be fairly close. And if it's out that much that it jams everything up, then you get a problem with that cover. All right, let's move on. So where we ended off the last video, you see me trying to put a chrome cover on, and it didn't go well. Now I've gone through a variety of things trying to think that I was making a problem, and it didn't fit. So in any case, I thought, well, perhaps that manufacturer had a bad batch or whatever. So I went ahead and I ordered another one from another supplier. When that one came, I was ready, I was all set and to get at this motor and start putting it together even farther. But when I put it on, tried to put it on, it was the same thing. The two bushings that the cam and the pinions fit on were too close together and they jammed up. Now I measured them all out with my calipers and such, and went, sure enough, they don't seem to be in the right place. But both of them, so I really began to scratch my head. I'm going to have to go another route with it now at this point, but I did notice that the manufacturer's stamp mark on the back of these covers was identical from the two suppliers. So they came from the same place as most of our import stuff comes from. And one supplier, thankfully, looked into it and said that they had a note on file that these particular covers, they didn't have any in stock and that they were defective and they were waiting for new ones. So if you run into one of these chrome cam covers and you buy it to put on your bike from whatever supplier, and it just sort of has a little ring with a C in it, then you'll see that these are not good at all. So hours and hours of work and days trying to figure out what I did wrong and if I did something wrong, which I didn't, and these covers wouldn't fit at all. So we're back to the drawing board, but we're going to figure something out to get this thing going, and we'll get at it. So not only did the cam cover not fit, but this was all bent up and crushed out in there. There's the offending manufacturer's mark right there. And like I say, it was identical from both companies. And the second company that I got it from, it had already been removed from the package and was all full of fingerprints, which it probably shouldn't have came out that way, but they did send it out to me. And I knew as soon as I opened the box and looked at all the fingerprints that it was likely one of these, and upon closer inspection, sure enough it was. So sometimes you're not the one that makes all the mistakes in it, and it's a manufacturer defect. So before you get into a big nightmare of stuff, which I did, be sure on what you got. All right, so now what we're gonna do is use my cam cover here, and I know that this one fits, and nothing else seems to, with the two new ones that I tried, and of course the old one. So we're gonna put this on. We've got everything in place. We've measured this gear, this spacer for our breather gear, and now we're gonna put this cam cover on. Slides right on. So now that we got the cover on, we're going to check our end play for our cam in here. So what we're looking for is a little bit of end play in our camshaft here. So you can see I can move it a little bit. We'll take a measurement just down in here. And there I can just get a 10 thou in there. So that gives us 10 thou play in there, which is what we're looking for. And you can see, and now there's no more play in the camshaft. So this is what we need, is our 10 thousandths of an inch right there. And you can see that we have that little bit of play. While we're here, we can also check down in here. And I can just stick a screwdriver down in there in the grate and just make sure that we have play on it. I can move it back and forth. So now we're going to put our lifters in. Put a little bit of lube on them. And these lifters have a small hole in here, and the holes have to face inward on both of them. There's the hole, and they face inward. There we go. We've got our gasket. We're going to put our gears in here and set them up. Make sure that our timing marks are all lined up. And I find it's just as easy to pull the breather gear out at this time Find your mark right there. Put our cam gear in, and there's 2 marks on it. One will line up with the breather gear, and one will line up with the pinion shaft here. So there's our little mark. One. Our dot is lined up with the mark on here. And now we look at our mark on here. And I do want to put a little bit of assembly lube in there. There's a mark on the breather gear. So as we insert the breather gear here, we need the mark to line up with here. So we have this mark lined up and this mark lined up. And that's what we need. So we know all our gears are in place. So now I always like to put the lifters in because I can see where I'm going with them and I'm able to hang on to them. We can also look in here, which is nice because then you can see that you're running nice and straight on the cam where it's supposed to be. And we've got a little bit of Loctite on our screws. Put them up in a crisscross pattern. Alrighty, now we'll try to get the rear one in here. Here. So I want to take a moment to mention my YouTube brothers, the Four Horsemen down there. Slickhead's Custom Cycles down there. Be sure to check his site out. He's got some antique machines that he's always working on, and it's very interesting stuff. Check out Hippie's Chopper Corner down there, home of the sketchy choppers. Hippie's a great guy, and we talk back and forth and have a great time. Also, check out Gus at This Old Chopper. Gus is working hard to promote his channel and get things going along, so please do help him out, and do check out his other channel, Wrenching for Wellness, number 4 Wellness. It's a great cause, and he's working towards helping ex-veterans from the military, from the RCMP, from all kinds of services, and trying to get together a place where they can all go and work on some bikes or whatever they want. And it's a great cause, and you got to give it to Gus for doing that. So check out these guys. We're the Four Horsemen. We're going to be here for a long time. So when we're going to put these things in, we always revert back to our manual to see what the torque specs are and what they should be, and it takes any question out of your mind as to what it should be. For myself, I would suggest you use e-manuals online. Have a great selection of manuals, thousands and thousands of them on varying subjects, but a lot on Harley Davidson as well. So we'll look it up and see what the e-manual online shows us for our torque specs for the lifter blocks and for the cam cover as we go. So we'll just go to e-manuals online and we type in Harley, and you will see all the different manuals that are available for Harley Davidsons. It's pretty well limitless as to what you would like to have and what you would like to get. So we're going to have a look at our Harley manual that we've downloaded from eManual Online. And here you see we have the service manual for the early Harley Davidson 78.5 to 84. And we're just going to go look down through the engine specs. And here you can see where the torque values are for what we need. So we just look down the list here until we see the tappet guide bolts. There they are, 65 to 105 inch-pounds. And also our gear case cover screws, which are 90 to 120 inch-pounds. So we'll go ahead and torque those parts up to what we need. So if you're interested in getting manuals from eManual Online, which I hope you do because it will really help you out with all the small questions that you have, use our discount code here. And the link is in our description, and when you go there and you use this discount code, you'll get a good discount for the cost of the manuals. So check them out. We just put some engine lube on everything there. Gives it a fighting chance when you start up. So we'll put our gasket back on, and we'll make sure to use the same gasket that we took our measurements off of. If we grab another gasket, the distances for on the end of this and everything will be different. So you have to use the same gasket. And now we look good in there and everything looks the way it should be. I can roll it around, just holding the cam in. And just make one more check visually to make sure that our lines are lined up here and our lines are lined up here. So we know that that's where everything has to be. So we know we're in place. So a little bit of lube on the ends of the shafts. Tight on everything, or hurts. These ones say 65 to 105, so I'm just going to go 95 pounds on those, which I pretty well got by the feel. After you've done so many, you get a pretty good idea of where it goes. And 90 to 120 pounds on these. A little soft there. I may have to go back and address these two, put a helicoil in them, and we'll stick a couple new rubbers in here. These are the quad seals to go with the push rods. Quad seals are a little different than the other ones. They actually have a small sort of groove in them. So they're not just like a regular O-ring. So we're just going to check our ring gap before we assemble, and we put them down inside, push them down with your piston. So they're nice and square. According to our calculations, we should have 14 to 15 thou, which is just what we have there. So we'll get ready to put our front cylinder on. Just cover this stuff up, and now we're going to get our piston on the front, and we're going to install our front cylinder first. So we've placed our gasket down below, and we've also put our snap ring in the far side. Wiseco pistons come with an arrow on top. This arrow designates to point towards the exhaust. Unlike some other ones, where the arrows point forward, these Wiseco pistons point towards the exhaust, so you have to be sure to put them in properly. So we're just going along, put our rings on. Got the oil control rings on there, and now we're looking here, and there's a small dot, and the dot always goes up on the second ring. The top ring usually doesn't have a dot or anything on it. You can check and see if there was a dot, it'd be up. But the top rings are generally the same. There. All right. We've got our gaskets on here already, so we're good there. Now we're going to get our piston plates. These are a set of little piston plates that we make. And we just slide those on. This will help keep our pistons square on top as we put the cylinder down on. Oil up our piston good. Your ring compressor has a top and a bottom, and it says bottom on it. We've got everything in place here. Okay, get our cylinder. Just make sure our piston is centered on there. Okay, just turn the motor over so we can take our ring out. Set it on there so that we can get it down a little farther. And we just lift it up and remove our plates. Slide the piston down. There we go. When you're putting the cylinders on with a shovel head, quite often this one here won't go in if the studs are long like that. So before you seat it down, make sure you put that bolt up in there. Okay, so now we go to put this in this way, and this arrow is to point towards the exhaust. So not to get confused as with many other applications, they're both pointing forward. We've put some oil in the hole for spin bushing. We always put these with the notch up at the top. It can be a bit of a pain. Just want to leave a little lip around the top so that you can start your cylinder on it. And we'll take this out. And we'll put our little plates in. Once we've placed our little plates on the bottom, we can turn it around and get our piston down to sit nice and square on there. Make sure that the edges of the pistons are not down in the slotted holes. Okay, get our cylinder, oil up the bottom of it. Check that our piston is square on there. We can just tap it down a little further to make sure it's in there. We'll rotate our motor over, pick it up. We can get our ring compressor out. Move the plates out. Right, and again we have to put one of our cylinder bolts in the rear here. Once the cylinder's all the way down, in some cases you can't get it in. There we go. So that's how the little piston plates work. As you can see, they're great. I enjoy them. They keep everything nice and square. Give them a tap down. No muss, no fuss, no bother. There we go. So what we're going to do now is get our heads and try to put them on. I've got my head gaskets, my surfaces are nice and clean, and we're using James head gaskets with a fire ring in them. I always use a fire ring on the shovels and on the Evos when I can. So just a bit of added protection. When you put them on, they'll only go on one way, and you make sure that your oil hose are lined up. Okay, we'll just go along and tighten those up and get them set. What we're going to do is put them on there, and we're going to leave them loose so that they can move a little bit so that we can line up our manifold before we tighten everything down. That's the plan. So if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do those kind of things. It helps us to grow, and we are growing and we're enjoying it very much. So hit that subscribe button, tell others, and share us out there. All right, we'll see you on the next video.